So imagine two men walking into the exact same room, wearing pretty much the exact same suit. One man comes off as confident, competent. He is on top of his game. The other guy, there's something off. He doesn't look competent, and despite wearing nice clothing that fits the situation, he seems out of place. Gents, you've probably seen this, and in some cases, maybe you have been that other guy whose body language, voice, and behavior seems to just throw things off. So that begs an answer to the question, why do some men come off as so insecure? And more importantly, how can you take steps to fix it? Well, gentlemen, that's the topic of today's video. Now, the first thing and the easiest fix is to wear clothing that actually fits you, that you have practiced wearing, that makes you feel good. You probably noticed in those first images that the man that felt out of place, his clothing didn't fit as well as the other gentleman. And clothing fit is something that people immediately pick up on, whether they know it or not, because the right fit can make a $200 suit look like a $2,000 suit, and bad fit can make a $2,000 suit look cheap. And of course, this doesn't just apply to suits. It also applies to casual clothing, whether it be your trousers and the hem, whether it be your button-down shirt and it just being way too baggy, taking your clothing to a seamstress or tailor, or even doing it yourself. Making a couple adjustments here or there can do wonders for the way it looks. In addition, never wear clothing that is stained, that's overly wrinkled, that is dirty. Even if no one's going to see the stain, it's in a hidden spot. The thing is, you know it's there. And studies have shown that if a person thinks that other people could possibly see an error, a mistake, or a blemish, their confidence drip. In fact, the classic study were video interviews in which the person being interviewed hadn't showered for a day. Basically, they felt that they smelt bad. And even though the person they were talking with, it was across a video interview, they could note on the other side of the camera that, hey, there was something off about this person. Their confidence wasn't as high versus the other group that did those interviews and was freshly showered and felt better about themselves. Yes, confidence like that, it affects us. And even through a video camera, people can pick stuff up. Now, this next one goes really deep, and that is that you don't have true confidence in yourself. Because I know for me, confidence isn't a motivational phrase. It's accumulated evidence that I can do and will do what I need to. So for a lot of us, as life hits us, we start to lose confidence in ourselves because we stop keeping promises to ourselves. We don't show up to the gym when we schedule it, when we tell ourselves we're going to. Instead of arriving 15 minutes early like planned, we find excuses that all of a sudden have us being 5 minutes late. We let little lies slip, whether we're telling them or someone's telling them to us, because we don't want to confront. We don't want to deal with it. And let's face it, for a lot of us guys, we start to deal with health issues which undermine our own belief in our ability. And that includes your health in the bedroom. And guys, a little secret. Here's something most guys don't know. The vast majority of ED treatments out there only target one thing, blood flow. They completely ignore the other half of the equation, which is your brain. Today's sponsor, Rugiet Ready, handles both. Gents, if you're looking for an ED treatment that's going to give you more confidence, harder, faster, longer lasting, possible multiple rounds, gentlemen, that is Rugiet Ready. It's the official ED medicine of the UFC. And when it comes to performance, it acts in as little as 15 minutes on average. It also stays active in your system for up to 36 hours. So no more waiting around for an hour hoping it's going to work. No, Rugiet Ready is ready to go when you are. Now let's talk about Rugiet Ready and apomorphine. Basically, what it does is target the brain's arousal pathways. Now to get started, gents, go to Rugiet.com. That's Rugiet.com/RMRS. You'll answer a quick medical questionnaire that's reviewed by a board-certified physician, and if approved, the prescription is shipped right to your door in discreet packaging with no in-person visit, no having to stand in line at a pharmacy. So gents, if your current approach isn't hitting all five, harder, faster, longer lasting, more confident, more rounds, then gents, it's probably worth 5 minutes to see if Rugiet Ready is right for you. I'm linking to Rugiet Ready down in the description, and make sure to use our code RMRS to get the best deal on the web. Rugiet prescriptions are compounded medications available only if prescribed after an online consultation with a licensed clinician. Compounded drugs can be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and have not been reviewed by the FDA for safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing. Individual results may vary. Full safety information is available at Rugiet.com. Next up, let's talk about your posture. How is it right now? A lot of people, we naturally lean forward. And this is happening because we're looking at our phones. We are conditioning our muscles to look down. But when you look at a guy looking at his phone like that, what? He looks weak. It's like he's making himself smaller. Now, there's been all types of research, some of it debunked, but in general, I think we can all agree that if somebody is trying to make themselves look smaller, if they've got a body posture that is hunched, they come off not as strong. Because the opposite of that is, let's take a young man just coming back from boot camp. We probably have had somebody in our family who, when they went off and they come back, they seem to be, wow, like this guy seems like he's grown an inch or two in height. Why? Because all of a sudden he's he's taught to stand a certain way. It was the way I was taught in the Marine Corps. And it was crazy because everybody noticed, and I noticed, and to this day, if I want to feel more confident, if I want to feel better about myself, I simply roll the shoulders back. And even if you've got an advanced form of nerd neck, guys, there are exercises that you can do to strengthen the back muscles, which will naturally have you standing more erect, standing with more confidence. And it makes a huge difference, not only on the way others perceive you, but on the way you feel about yourself. And if you really have issues here, check out the tape hack. I will talk about it at the end of this video. Next up, let's talk about eye contact. We live in a society in which a lot of people are afraid to offend anyone. They don't want to be accused of being a creeper. And the reality is a lot of guys don't have a whole lot of confidence, especially when it comes to the ladies. And so in general, we avoid eye contact. But in business situations or when you're out there meeting people, guess what? Eye contact is one of the easiest ways to be able to spot, to recognize, to be able to encourage someone to come over and speak with you. And if you are speaking, you want to be able to make eye contact people, at least here in the Western world. I know things are different from culture to culture, so if you're over in Japan or in India, I know you guys have slightly different rules. But here in the United States, if you're speaking and you're constantly looking down, it comes off as low confidence. If you are speaking with multiple people, you want to be moving around and not ignoring people. If you are listening to somebody, who is speaking, you do not want to just be looking down. No, you want to show them that you're listening by looking at them, paying attention. Now, occasionally you can look off, and there are some numbers I could throw out there in terms of percentage of eye contact. The point I want you to remember with this is don't be afraid. Practice making eye contact. It simply shows that you're paying attention, that you are interested. Next up, let's talk about your movements. Another thing that really makes a guy look low confidence, lower status, I think, is fidgeting. Now, the reason for this is for a lot of people, they associate fidgeting or quick movements with being anxious, being nervous. And the worst part here is a lot of guys don't even know that they do it, that they have these tics, that they have these habits. So I find one way to get over this is to actually record yourself. Maybe go to a Toastmasters and ask people to actually be looking for this, because once you're aware of a problem, it's a lot easier to fix it. The next one is don't be afraid to have something that is out of sight that most people aren't going to see that would allow you to basically release this fidgeting energy. For me, it's touching my wedding ring, or this is the Oura ring, my wedding ring's over here. But I'll find that if I'm giving a presentation, if I'm talking to somebody, sometimes I'll just start touching my ring. It's a bit of a soothing thing. It's kind of out of sight, but it allows me to exercise that and put that energy someplace versus having a pen or having a glass that you're touching on, or maybe, a nervous knee, which we've all probably felt under a table. That yes, those guys are the worst. I mean, the whole table's shaking. What's going on? Now, another thing with quick movements and darting eyes and looking around, again, you come off as you're looking for a threat. You're nervous, and it can affect others and make them feel nervous. So again, be aware of these things that you're falling into, these bad habits that we have. And again, they're not necessarily bad, but they don't instill confidence. They don't instill trust. I found, and this one may be weird for some of you guys, is to think if you're moving too quickly around. If you are a fidgeter, then imagine yourself as maybe a panther or an animal that would a panther fidget? No, I mean, an animal like that would move like a leopard, quietly, slowly, stalk. My wife sometimes sees me, she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm practicing my animal movements." No, you guys get the point. Slowing down can have a very powerful effect, especially slowing down your speech. Now, here on YouTube, I oftentimes fall into the habit of speaking super quickly because years ago, YouTube rewarded just faster cuts, faster edits, and I just started speaking faster. But in general, when I'm up on a stage, I try to slow things down. When I'm speaking to somebody one-on-one, and I don't talk in a way that makes them feel stupid, but I do think of, do I want to let a point simmer? Do I want to let it marinate? Do I want to give it a few moments, especially if it's an important point? Another thing when you're speaking really fast is that you can outrace your mind. And that's when a lot of us start throwing in crutch words, ums. I had a great friend. He was in the Marine Corps, and he sounded like a valley girl, yet he was one of the smartest guys in the room. And he was shooting himself in the foot so often. And I was very happy to hear when he had this brought to his attention, he worked to be able to present himself better. And he slowed down. He also took the time to have in front of him an agenda of points. And again, when you're conscious of these ways that you are sabotaging yourself, making yourself look weaker, it's a lot easier to fix them piece by piece, one at a time, oftentimes by creating systems or processes that simply make it harder to fall into those bad habits. Next up, let's talk about your voice. And I'm going to bring up my son here because I'm really proud of the guy. He's off studying neurobiology now at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. But I remember in high school, he took forensics and he wanted to be able to talk. He wanted to be able to present. He wanted to be able to argue. He also did like this speech club and stuff. And what I loved about what he was doing here is it really forced him to get outside of his comfort zone. He's a quiet guy, and I know a lot of you guys are like this. You're incredibly smart. You've got so much to offer the world. But when it's your turn to speak, you naturally think that maybe people are going to just pay attention because you know what you're saying is amazing. But when you talk so quietly, or you talk in a way that maybe is too high-pitched, too fast, as we were talking about earlier, the point being is your voice, the tone, the pitch, the way you project it, incredibly important, not just when you're giving a presentation, but when you're speaking with others and understanding that you can, to a degree, train yourself and control the way that the air is leaving your lungs, the pauses that you put into your speech, the way that you inflect, and the way that you look and you act after you say things, even the way you laugh. Some people have a very nervous laugh. Okay, let's change that up because again, you don't want to be remembered as the guy with the really weird laugh. You want to be remembered as somebody, oh yeah, he had that interesting point. I need to follow up with him to talk to him about his business because I bet we could use his services. Now we started this off talking about clothing, but here's the deal. You do not have to wear a suit to look good. You need to wear clothing though that matches, in a sense, your brand, who you are. If you're a creative and you own an agency, I would think that if I saw you wearing glasses that are incredibly plain or dirty, it doesn't really reflect good on your agency. Why not spend a little bit of money, have a few different colored glasses, go with a shape that's a little bit out there. I'm going to remember, oh, this makes sense. Have fun with your hair. Go see a salon. Change things up. Don't stick with the same hairstyle for a decade, especially if you want to come off as modern. You want to come off as someone that is in touch with things going on right there in the AI world. Then make sure that your clothing reflects that. Again, you don't have to wear a suit, but you do want to wear clothing that sends a signal. I'm a professional. I can be depended on. I pay attention to the small details. Even if you're wearing a t-shirt and it advertises your company, that t-shirt should be clean. It should fit well. I mean, unless you're just getting right off a job, then it makes sense if you're sweaty, but still, you're the owner of the business. You take the time to go out to your truck, throw on your polo, get your business cards, and talk to that prospective customer that you know could be worth thousands and thousands of dollars. And if nothing else, remember your image, this reflects you. And you're a man. Start dressing like a man. You represent yourself. You represent your family. You represent your dreams and all that you want to become. So step up. Become that man you know yourself to be. And guys, by the way, the opposite of this is wearing your clothing that's a costume. Because if you wear a suit, but you never wear a suit, you are wearing something you're not familiar with. And of course, you're going to feel uncomfortable because it probably won't fit you well because you never wear it. And you are not going to feel well about it. And that's why I encourage a guy when he's stepping up his style to wear that clothing around the house, to get used to wearing it. You want to practice dressing for the man you know yourself to be. Go 5 years in the future. That future self, that's the only person that you need the approval of. That person is the only person in the world that's 100% aligned with you being there, with achieving your success. And think about, how is that guy going to dress? Well, start dressing in that manner today because it's going to take you a while of practicing. Because as you practice, you get used to wearing certain things. Again, whether it's casual clothing, whether it's dress clothing. But once you start putting in the reps, all of a sudden you could look amazing in casual clothing, much better than you would in formal clothing that doesn't suit your dreams or your aspirations. I mentioned it earlier, but that tape hack is to simply take a piece of tape and tape it on your back when you are standing erect. You're probably going to need a little bit of help doing this. But here's the thing. If all of a sudden you start slouching over, you are going to feel the tension on the back of your neck. You are going to feel it. And what's going to happen? You're going to go back to standing erect. It's incredibly cheap, yet incredibly effective. I know it feels weird, but give it a shot, especially if you've got a bad case of nerd neck, if you want a daily reminder, hey, to stand straight. Next up, let's pick on our Canadian friends. Nah, not really. I love my Canadians. I mean, without you guys, we wouldn't have half our actors. And yeah, I don't know. You guys have seem like really smart up there. In any case, one thing the Canadians, you guys do, I think it's a little bit over the top, is you apologize for everything. And let's talk about that. You do not need to apologize for existing or being human and occasionally making mistakes. Now, if you offend somebody, yes, apologize. But be careful about being over apologetic, asking too much permission. You have my permission to go out there and achieve success, to go out there and grab things. And you don't need to apologize for bothering somebody if you are really bringing something of value. In fact, the way I look at it, you should have a calling, you should have a business, you should have a drive within you that you don't apologize because it is in their best interest that they listen to you, that you bring value to their lives with what you're talking about, whether it be your future wife that you're speaking with, whether it be your future business partner. So instead of you saying, sorry, this may be a stupid idea, instead simply say, here is another possibility. Instead of saying whatever you want is fine, saying, hey, this is my preference, but I am open to your ideas and thoughts. Remember, confidence isn't demanding that you always get your way. No, it's simply not being afraid to let others know that you do have a preference. So if you enjoyed this video and you want to keep going, you want to watch more videos, I got you covered here at Real Men, Real Style. If you want to stop dressing like a boy, if you want to start dressing like a man, guys, I got you covered. Boom, right here. Go check it out. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next video.